Yeah, definitely. I think that you just made a really good point that there are some aspects of pole dancing that could be tied and linked to Chinese. Like if we look at Ken Kao as an example, like
Right.
he's a male and he jumps from pole to pole. Like
Right.
but I almost said strippers don't do that. But
Oh,
depending on what club you go to,
wait, I seen a
you know what I
cricket
mean?
jumping off the ledge.
Exactly. Yeah, she's referring to Cricket at Jumbo's Clown Room, who stands on the railing in 8-inch heels
Sketchy.
and jumps backwards onto the pole. You're right.
Badass.
Yeah, you're right. And then like I've even seen strippers like hang upside down by their feet from
right.
the rafters.
Yeah.
So again, like, okay, I'm flip-flopping.
I mean, obviously, some acrobatic ideas also come from anywhere. It could be
Sure.
Chinese pole. It could be a leaf blowing in the wind. You can get acrobatics ideas from air, you
Right,
know?
right.
So, but when it comes to like actual stripper content and people saying like hashtag not a stripper, this can be also helpful to the industry.
Right.
So I could see why strippers would be irritated about it because it's kind of like saying, "Oh, I'm not doing what you're doing."
Right.
But we don't know the tone when it's a text, you know? Like what if I put this, crazy acrobatic combo and then I, did some highly sexual movement, stripper style, and then I wrote hashtag not a stripper. I might be trying to educate people into saying pole dancing is also outside the strip club, which is kind of what tends to happen a lot is like, oh, I run into somebody from high school, like, hey, I heard you were a stripper. It's like, okay, if I want the conversation to end there, I'll just say, yeah, I'm a stripper, because I don't want to explain to you,
Right.
well, I'm not really a stripper. I really do. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
So, but then the other part of me wants to explain to this person, well, there is an industry outside the club. And
Right.
in case you didn't know, I'm not a stripper, even though I kind of look like one and I like to dance like one, but I'm not an active stripper.
Right. Yeah. That's an excellent point. There definitely needs to be education on the different styles.
Yeah.
And I suppose you're right in one way. I'm sure there's someone who would argue, and I like to invite anybody listening to this show to make an argument against Nadia saying that using hashtag not a stripper can actually be helpful.
It can also be hurtful. It can
could
also
be,
be
yeah.
like, I would never strip because I'm too good for that.
Right.
You know, we don't know how
Yeah.
the context,
Yeah, but I want to invite another perspective, not because I want to like make you wrong, but because just to open up this dialogue and this conversation, because honestly, that's the first time I've heard that perspective on that particular hashtag. And I think it might be because majoritively in text, it is that way. It is the way of I'm not like that.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I came across a dancer on Instagram. I don't remember her name or who she is, but she definitely wasn't a stripper, but she was wearing the high heels and she was dancing exotic and wearing the little shorts. And then one of her posts was an image of it said it was some meme that basically was like, I'm stronger than you and no, I'm not a stripper or something like that. And I was like, girl, like I wrote to her.
But why are you so mad though?
Right. I wrote to her and I said, I understand you're not a stripper, but could you be more friendly in your explanation? Because now you're just marginalizing this group of people that you're emulating. Like you're dancing like strippers and
don't shit
dressed
on
like
that.
strippers, but you're making very clear in sort of a like, fuck you, I'm not a stripper kind of way. And it's not very chill towards
it's not.
strippers. And I think that's where a lot of strippers are like,
What are you doing?
what are you doing to us?
Wait, you want to look like me, but you don't want to be me.
Right. Because what I actually do is something you would never do and you think it's gross.
Yeah. Or frowned upon or whatever.
And at the end of the day, it's my choice. Like, what does my choice with my body have to do with you? And they will argue, because I've seen it before. Well, by you doing that, it makes me look bad because I'm pole dancing. Like,
What?
I've seen comments where it's like, we need to separate from strippers because it makes pole dancing look bad. And it's like, but
But to who though?
to pole dancers because the strippers are doing it and claiming that they originate, and then the pole dancers get mad. We have these debates on United Pole Artists posts all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it. Like, let's say, example, you've never been a stripper and you live in corporate America and you pay hundreds of dollars a month to go take all these classes. You're learning all this stuff. Feels so good. And you go out and you're posting, and then a coworker's like, "Oh, you look like a stripper," you know? And then I'm just mad that you don't know how great what I'm experiencing is.
Right.
You know, this man only knows pole dancing from the media or TV and says like, "Oh, I know what strippers do," you know, like strippers ride my lap for $20. You know, like he could easily be saying that.
Yeah.
And she's just irritated that he doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, look, bro, like, sure, strippers do lap dances, but also, like, look at all this cool stuff I can do. So it might be more anger towards the people that only want to categorize you as a stripper.
Sure.
And it's more just lack of education for everybody.
Well, yeah.
Or most people.
Especially the person who's getting mad at the uneducated person.
Right.
That means that person who's getting mad also needs to be educated.
Correct.
That everyone around you is uneducated.
So your job is to educate.
Educate yourself. Educate others.
Yeah. Spread the word. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my message has been like, just, you don't have to get angry or defensive when someone's like, "Oh, are you a stripper?" Because when you do that, you're sending the message that
you're against that.
You're against it, or you're better than that. And and that's why I talk about classification a lot, because if you're trying to be like, "I'm above that," then it sends the message to the already uneducated that
strippers are below.
They're below, right. And therefore we can treat them like shit, but not you because you're somewhat better than them. But you know what I mean? Like it really, and that's why I really try to, in my messaging, be clear, like, just calm down if someone gets the wrong idea and just explain to them calmly. And if they don't get it right then, they might later, or they'll hear it again later.
I think it's more about like patience. Like, look, bro, I'm at work. You know, what if you are that corporate girl that is doing pole dancing after work and you're just like, I don't want to have to explain this to you, but like, you're so wrong. You know, like I'm definitely not a stripper because I'm in a pole studio, and we already discussed the things that strippers have to do. It's really not related.
No, it's not. Yeah. So I always say that some pole dancers strip and some strippers pole dance.
Yeah.
You know, and so you take the two circles and then the little Venn diagram, there's stripper pole dancer. Yeah. You know, and that's one of me. I'm
exactly.
That. Yeah.
That's perfect description.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's more just about like getting irritated on having to feel like a broken record to some people.
Definitely.
Even, I mean, I experienced that too. Like, when I first started pole dancing, my boyfriend was like, literally, the words that came out of his mouth were, "Why are you pole dancing? That's for girls that are dumb." Ooh, and you're not dumb.
Frisco.
And I was just like, obviously I was so hurt and aggravated and frustrated that he didn't get it.
Right.
You know, and at that time I wasn't even in a studio. I was just ignoring him and pole dancing in my bedroom. You know what I mean? So he was just upset that I was ignoring him and found something that I loved. And then I would show him my videos and be all stoked, and he'd be like, "What are you doing?" You know? And so it took so many years for me to try to explain all the good feelings and all the accomplishments I was, you know, getting from pole dancing.
Right.
And so it took years to be able to educate him enough. And now he's like, you know, fully supportive. But it took years.
Right.
And I couldn't be mad at him because what the fuck does he know? He knows nothing, you know, about the pole dancing industry or strippers.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah, you're right. It's just constant education. Do you remember the one time it was me, you, and Mina, and we were in a van going from the airport to somewhere in New York. Okay. And the driver, first of all, how we even got in that car's van is shady as fuck. Do you remember we were all of a sudden, we were like, wait, what the fuck? Whose van is this? Because they came up to us at the airport and they're like, "Do you need a ride?" And we're like,
"Oh, yeah."
And so we skipped the taxi line.
Yeah.
And so we get in this guy's van and we all we're like maybe a mile into the trip and we all start looking at each other like, wait, what did we do? And then he asked us all, "Oh, what are you guys here in town for?" And all three of us were like,
silence, crickets. We don't want to tell you. A book convention.
We already think maybe we're getting sex trafficked.
Yeah.
And if you think we're strippers, then, you know, we're just perfect candidates for what you're looking for.
It's not funny. It's not funny, but yes, I
It's
remember
not
that.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, just.
But we're laughing because it's us.
Joking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But none of us wanted to tell him what we were there for because
Right.
we didn't want to have the conversation. And this was back in 2009. Yes.
9
or 10.
something like that.
So that's like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's 10 years ago.
Girl.
Oh my God. So long ago. But yeah, and then we ended up saying a dance competition. We didn't say what
Classic
type.
move.
Yeah, because back then it was like
Even
we-
worse than it
we
is
just
now,
Didn't
yeah.
want to have the same conversation.
It's annoying.
Yeah,
And then it's never short.
right.
You know, you got to go back and forth and explain the whole thing, and then you're like, for what? You know, but it is our job. In my mind, that is our job. We have to continue to educate people so that they can stop acting so stupid.
Right.
It's the only way, and only we know. So
Right.
we're that people
Right.
to have to do that.
So your story, I've heard it a million times. I think it's like one of the most interesting stories ever because you used to be an engineer and then you
Yeah.
quit that life to pursue pole dancing.
Yeah.
So, you know, tell us a little bit about that. What that was
so, you know, I've always been passionate about dance, and it was always something that was like part of my blood, and I just loved it. And so when I was in community college, I got to do dance class. And then when I moved to a technical university, they didn't have any dance classes. And so I was kind of trying to find something that was like, you know, for adult females, which there's not that much dance available. And I was always like, you know, there's around the time when YouTube was booming. And so, you know, there was like 20 pole dance YouTube videos, and I watched them and I was like, this is so cool. And so I put a pole up in my room and I would just do it on my own time while I was, you know, getting my education. And that's how I discovered expositions, and that's how I discovered the first pole dancing competition outside of the strip club, Pole Star Invitational 2008, ran by Miss AMD.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was huge. That's like, you
Yeah.
know, how we met and everything. And that was in 2008. And so I just like immersed myself in pole dancing, you know, through my education as like a part-time job. It was just super cool. And I did competitions and really loved it. And as soon as I graduated, I kind of thought, okay, well, that was fun. And, you know, everything in society leading up to that moment said, you did a good job, Nadia. You graduated, and here you are. Here's your big fat corporate paycheck and your 401k and your PTO and your medical insurance. Whoa, you know?
yeah.
And I was like, this is cool. I had a great run with pole dancing. I have some titles, and I've done some things, and I'm feeling really good to just leave it behind me. And I started my engineering career, and it was exactly what you think it is. It's waking up early, dressing in drab clothing, and sitting in a cubicle and trying to accomplish somebody's task. It's a lot of work.
Like somebody else's idea.
Well, yeah, you know, it's like, hey, we're gonna take this whole oil refinery and make it from an analog to a digital system. Here you go. Oh, tons of fun, super fun, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was working on that, and it was a great job. I had more money than I ever knew what to do with. It was 4 miles from my house. It was incredible. But honestly, like 6, 7, 8 months in, I realized like, holy shit, this could be the rest of my life. I see
Right.
nothing but old people here. Is this going to be me? Is
And
this?
there's cubicles, right?
Yeah, you know? It's
Fluorescent lights.
like, yeah, AC blasting.
Water coolers.
Totally. Shitty coffee. Yeah, the whole thing. So it's just like, these people are so content and happy and comfortable, and this is what they do all day, every day, Monday through Friday. And it was just like, it started to weigh on me and give me anxiety and be like, you know, how do I do this for decades?